It's a partnership that's grown with the city of Fort Worth. For 50 years, the city's been working to help make the place we call home better than ever. HUD oversees federal funds that are used for local government. You may have heard of Community Development Block Grants, also known as CDBG. This federal funding is for local units of government to spend in their neighborhoods. The spending of these federal funds is guided by a consolidated plan that's created by cities and approved by HUD every 5 years. HUD designed the Consolidated Plan process to be collaborative so that a community can establish a unified vision for housing and neighborhood community development. Essentially, that money goes to help fix up neighborhoods and for public services. Right now, the city is planning for its next 5-year consolidated plan, and we want your help. How should we spend the roughly $13.5 million a year? Do you want more light poles for a safer street? Do you want more sidewalks to get to the grocery store? Or do you want more parks? How about a fire station? The choice is yours. You see, that money goes into several buckets: the Community Development Block Grant, Home Investment Partnerships Program, Emergency Solutions Grant Program, and Housing Opportunities for Persons with AIDS Program. These buckets then pour money into ways to make your neighborhood a better place to live. The City of Fort Worth's Neighborhood Services Department meets with community stakeholders like yourselves, local business owners, and everyone in between. This Fort Worth Consolidated Plan will cover HUD programs from October of this year till the end of September 2028. In the past, the city has used HUD grant funding for projects in Fort Worth, like the Priority Repair Program, to fix homes. So let's look towards the future. Community stakeholders, business owners, and residents of Fort Worth are encouraged to provide input and comments to help with identifying these priority needs. This will include attending community meetings, contacting city staff, and completing surveys. How would you want to see that money being spent? As a Fort Worth resident, what would you identify as a priority need? Click the link on this video to fill out the survey, or come to the screen, pull out your phone's camera, and hold it on this QR code until there's a link to direct you to the survey. If you want to meet with your city council member in person to discuss further, we have a list of the meetings happening in your neighborhood. Please join us at one of our upcoming community meetings at a location near you, wherever you live, work, or play. Meetings are scheduled during the month of April in the Fort Worth Council districts. We encourage each resident to attend their local neighborhood meeting, but each meeting is open to all residents. Let's work together as a Fort Worth community to shape the future of our city and how we plan to use our HUD dollars. Thank you for helping build a better Fort Worth. A better Fort Worth.
Thank you, Victor. That's been about the best video I've seen in a long time. Don't you all think that video was inspiring, riveting, makes you want popcorn?
It's a partnership that's grown with the city of Fort Worth. For 50 years, the city's been working.
I didn't like it then, but you know. How's everybody doing? For those of you who I've not met, my name is Gina Bivens. I'm the city council rep for District 5, and I also serve as Mayor Pro Tem, thanks to Mayor Maddie Parker, who I think is a dynamic mayor. And I agreed to serve as Mayor Pro Tem because Maddie believes women should be able to serve, women with children and families. And so whenever Maddie can't cut a ribbon, she knows I'm going to be there to cut it for her. And just know that we're in very good hands with Maddie Parker. Now, we're also in good hands with the pastor of this church. We've been here quite often. How many of you have been here for a city meeting more than tonight? Okay. Well, let me tell you, this is a very good location. But what a lot of people don't know is, in addition to being the pastor of this church, he's also an elected official. And so I'd like for the pastor to come and just have some words about what goes on here that impacts your community. And I'll go over here and pretend I'm drinking coffee because I am sleepwalking.
There you go. All right. Thanks, Gina.
Thank you.
Well, my name is John McKenzie, and I'm the minister here at Bridgewood. I also, as Gina said, I'm on the city council over in Hearst. But we just want to let you know we're thankful to have you guys here. We're always thankful to be a good neighbor. Probably about 5 or 6 years ago, we realized that we were very disconnected from our neighborhood. We were better known for being across the street from Whataburger than for anything else, which is good. Whataburger's good. But we set about changing that. And so we have partnered up with West Hanley Elementary, and we mentor all the fourth graders there in leadership at West Hanley Elementary. Twice a week out here in the parking lot, we have a bread and Bibles pop-up where we give away food to our neighbors who might need some extra food to help out. We have the community garden and the community orchard that was just planted in the fall, so we're excited about that. And we're just happy to be a good neighbor. We're thankful y'all are here to have a good meeting tonight. Thank you.
You don't want to just come to somebody's house and not say thank you. And so I always throw in the little known secret that he serves on the Hearst City Council. How many of you know about priority repair? Okay. When I came to the council in 2013, priority repair only paid out $5,000 if you had an issue. I tried and pleaded and begged, cussed and fussed about getting that amount raised. Never could get that higher until Victor Turner came to work for the city of Fort Worth. But that's not the only great thing that Victor has done. He's made services available from his department to you throughout the entire city. And so I ask you to pay attention to what you're being told tonight and ask questions. Don't just listen to the information. I know you're going to think about a problem that a neighbor may have, a family may have. Ask for those who are not here. And so, Victor, I just say, and you know, I never brag on you. I know that shocked you, didn't it? Well, Victor Turner is all right with me. He's also all right with the people in Washington, D.C. They know what the city of Fort Worth is doing up under his leadership. And to show you more about what HUD has done, how many of you have been down Rosedale, entering Stop 6? We're building a senior citizen apartment complex there. It is going to be dynamic. It is going to be bold. And that's because we partnered with the Fort Worth Housing Solutions, known as the Housing Authority. Now, there was a time, and even, how many of you know the name Reby Carey? Okay. There was a time in one of Reby's many books he wrote, and Tarchi can attest to this, he has a chapter that's titled Carver Heights is Not Stop 6. Kind of throw your nose up in there when you hear that, okay? Well, after we got that $35 million grant from HUD, everybody wants to be in Stop 6 now. And we keep trying to tell folk in Rosedale Park, no, the boundary stops at Stall Cup. But great things are happening because of our relationship with HUD. We got that big grant from the Trump administration. You need to know that. Luckily, the Biden administration is not disconnecting anything. So the city council really is nonpartisan. City services are nonpartisan. There are no Democratic potholes, no Republican potholes. We are here to serve you and yours. And so, Victor, I don't know what time I went to bed last night, but I'm not going to be here all night with you, okay? And so I'm going to get back there, and I'm going to tip out quietly, because if I don't turn in that campaign finance report, they'll read about me in the paper. So thank you for being here, and I want you to give yourselves a hand for being here tonight, because I'm glad to see so many of you. Now, there's one lady here who has to go finish cooking dinner for her husband. Good luck, okay? If not, we could point him to the water.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. We promise you it won't be longer than 45 minutes. So if we get some amens, it'll be 30 minutes. So anyway, thank you. We are live streaming tonight, so they may hear comments. So we're at church, so I know you all going to be mindful of your speaking, but just wanted you to know that there are other people that be online watching this meeting and providing questions and stuff that we'll be responding to. But with that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Gillian.
Good evening, everyone. I'm James Gillian, and I'm going to be leading you through the process tonight. We've invited you here, and we're really pleased for the turnout and that you've joined us. We're going to be talking about the upcoming grant funds that the city of Fort Worth will be receiving under the Community Development Block Grant and other programs. We want to describe for you how those programs work, how you can access those programs, and most of all, who qualifies to actually take advantage of those programs that will be provided. So if you have any questions, we'll stop and take your questions. If you just raise your hand, let me know. We'll try to answer those questions as we go along. As Victor indicated, we are live streaming. We're not live streaming your faces, but we are live streaming your voices. So please talk loud, and so that not only for purposes of my hearing, but also the listening audience that will be listening to. So I'm going to start with an overview of the funding that's received. The city is eligible under this national program because it has been designated what's called an entitlement city. And that means that by formula, once Congress appropriates the funding totally for the country, Fort Worth gets its share of those dollars to carry out programs. So you'll see on the right-hand side of the screen, a little over $3 billion, $3.7 billion for community development block grant, $2 billion for the Home Investment Partnership Program, which is primarily for housing-related activities, and then fair housing, which focuses on making sure that we remove any barriers to a person's ability to acquire housing of their choice. The Consolidated Plan is prepared once every 5 years. So this plan will cover a period of October 1 of this year, 2023, and it will go through 2027. And then once we create the 5-year plan, which lays out the kinds of activities and the types of activities that we'll provide for the city, each year the city gets an annual allocation of funding. So the city gets approximately this year a little over $13 million. That's the base level of funding. And I'll point out some examples of where the city has had an opportunity to even gain even more funding under the program based on their 5-year plan in past years. So the appropriations you see on the right-hand side for programs for the city of Fort Worth. So for our 1-year allocation starting October 1st, a little over $6 million, almost $7 million for the Community Development Block Grant Program, the Home Investment Partnership Program, which is primarily for housing, about $3.2 million, and then the Emergency Solutions Grant, which is primarily for homelessness and homeless prevention, and then finally, housing opportunities for people with AIDS, which is allocated a little over $2.5 million. Now, these 4 programs are our baseline of funding, and although HUD specifies a limitation on the amount for each of the 4 programs, the city actually gets to decide which individual programs it decides to fund. So that's why it's called a block grant, as opposed to being an individual grant that specifies you can only spend X number of dollars for each activity. So in order to qualify, the city produces their 5-year plan. It includes citizen participation, which you're part of tonight, and that's to get your input on both what types of activities should be funded, but also what the priorities should be on behalf of the city. There's a market analysis that allows us to formulate the data that supports the need within the community. So things like the number of housing units and the number of housing units that need to be repaired and so forth. And then housing and homeless needs assessment along with the analysis of impediments. On the right-hand side, you'll see that this plan also has to put forth the city's plan for monitoring these funds and reporting to HUD how they are expended, certifications that we will in fact spend the funds in accordance with the regulation. And then the strategic plan lays out the activities that will be conducted over the next 5 years and the programs that will be funded. And then the action plan lays out our first year funding, which goes into effect October 1st of each year. There are 4 components that can be funded: housing, economic development, public services, and public facilities and public infrastructure. And as an entitlement jurisdiction, the city applies for these funds every year and HUD gives a formula allocation, and the city produces the documentation to support their needs. In order to expend any of the dollars, we have to meet one of these national objectives. Benefit low and moderate income persons, and I'll tell you what that means in terms of actual income in a second. Or it can be an activity that helps to prevent or eliminate slum and blighted conditions, and that ranges from everything from dilapidated structures to maybe structures that are in need of repair, where the city can use funding to help people actually repair their homes. The third provision is meet a need having a particular urgency. And that provision was put in by HUD to cover things that were unanticipated. So things like tornadoes, floods, hurricanes, that we didn't anticipate, but when they hit and affect the city of Fort Worth, we're able to use this type of funding to help deal with some of those uses. Most recently, we used this provision for COVID-19 funding, which helped to pay people's utility bills, rent, and other costs that they were incurring that were, again, unanticipated. As I indicated, you can have an individual benefit for individuals to apply for as long as they fall within the income guidelines. And we report to this particularly because many times, particularly among our seniors, we have people that will disqualify themselves without having an opportunity to see that it's based on household income. So it's household income and household size. If you're a household of two, husband and wife, for example, you can earn up to $57,850 as a household and still qualify for these benefits that I'll be talking about. So keep in mind something like a down payment and closing costs. The city offers is $10,000 up to $20,000 for down payment and closing costs. So if you fit based on the household size and the annual incomes into these brackets, you are eligible to apply to the city each year for programs that are directed to assist you in that. The other way that the funding can be used is as an area benefit. An area benefit simply says that if 51% of the people who live in that particular census tract or area, then the city can invest funds that can benefit everyone, and regardless of your income, you can benefit from those programs. So things like additions to rec centers, sidewalk, curb, gutter, streets, other types of benefits that you'll see. That means that if 51% of the people are eligible based on income, everyone can benefit from those activities. We are limited by HUD regulations to 20% of the funding can be used for administration, oversight, and reporting to HUD. Other programs, you cannot exceed that 20%. 15% can be used for public services, and then 65% for all the other activities that you'll see in just a second. So eligible activities include community facilities, community services, infrastructure, neighborhood services, special needs, economic development, and health. The Consolidated Plan itself, this document that we have to submit once every 5 years, must indicate the community engagement process the city has gone through, into what steps the city taken in order to get public involvement and public input into the process. We ask you, for those of you who have taken the survey or have seen the survey, where it gives you a list of possible programs that can be funded, and we ask you questions like, is this a priority need within your community? The reason we do that is because we need you to help us establish what should be the priority for this funding. And we'll have an exercise a little later for you to give us your input on that. And then it has the analytical components, the things that must be in the plan in order for HUD to actually provide the funding. The assessment of fair housing identifies any outright acts of discrimination that might be occurring in the marketplace, but it also identifies any barriers. A barrier could be anything from people are having a difficulty affording the price of housing within the community. So that's why the city is able to invest in both the housing programs like Stop 6, where it is actually funding housing development, and making it available to people who are low and medium income. And it can also be outright acts of discrimination as well. So under the strategic plan, I'm going to run through very quickly the 4 types of needs that you can address with the grant. First, housing. Under the housing grant, Robert, next slide, please. You can benefit from housing rehabilitation of individual owner-occupied structures and also rental structures. We can cover costs for housing development. We can cover costs for housing assistance, home ownership to individuals, and then demolition and removal of stone and lighting conditions. For prior needs under public services, it can include youth and senior services. It can include homeless prevention and homeless services that address people who are already homeless or at risk of becoming homeless. Transitional housing, domestic violence. It can even address some of the needs like that affect youth, for example, homelessness among youth and job creation and that sort of thing. Meals, transportation as well. Under our non-housing community development, it includes public facilities, homeless facilities, as I indicated earlier, public infrastructure, sidewalks, curbs, gutter streets, those kinds of repairs. And that's in addition to what the city might invest through its bond programs and other things. And then parks and recreation are also eligible. And then finally, economic development is also an eligible cost. And that's both technical assistance to small businesses, but also funding for job creation, employment training, workforce development. Next slide. So our agenda for the community engagement process, we started with a process of meetings in each one of the council districts. And just like tonight's meeting, and for our listening audience, there are any of the meetings in council districts are eligible regardless of which district you reside in. And then also working with the Community Development Advisory Council, which is appointed by each city council member to help get you involved in the process. Ultimately, we'll focus on governmental agencies, including the Housing Authority and others, because they are from time to time in partnership with the city in terms of actually carrying out these activities, and most importantly, working with industry so that they too can contribute to this process. And then finally, the stakeholder meetings are being featured through social media and through surveys, and also through your attendance in meetings like this. One of the things that I will also note, both for you and the listening audience, is that the city does offer all of the material so that we address language barriers. So, for example, that survey that you saw as you came in the room, if you go to that survey via the city's website, you'll see that that survey is featured in English, Spanish, and Vietnamese. So every effort to try and get all of our populations access to that, as well as access to the city's website, social media sites, and other venues like Nextdoor and others. So during the months of February through April, we've had meetings just like this and seeking input from individuals to give us their input. May through June, we'll be drafting the plan and continuing to get that input from citizens on what they believe the priority needs should be. And then finally, in June and July, that draft report will be made available for you to review if you choose to. And then you'll have an opportunity in early August to actually give your input directly to the city council. The city council will hold a public hearing to receive your input, and you'll be able to appear in person and give your input to them. So with that, I'm going to stop before we get into a little exercise in terms of what you believe the priority needs are. And I want to see if anyone first here in the audience has any questions, and we'll try to answer those. And we also may have a few comments and questions coming in through our live feed. So, any questions? Yes.
Just the questions or concerns with the needs of the neighborhood.
This is questions about the plan.
The plan for the budget.
So the plan for the budget and the priority needs, and then in a second, I'm gonna ask you questions about the priority needs activities.
I just have a few things, because I live in the neighborhood, I have deep concerns about, and one is this exit off of, coming up to Rosedale. We need that road to be repaired and not Band-Aid, so those potholes are ridiculous, because all they do is put that little Band-Aid on it, and then months later, it's another huge hole again, and if you drive out there, which I'm sure you did, you will see all the holes that is out there currently right now. That's my first one. The second one is the flooding on the other side under the freeway. When it rains, it floods right there in front of Exxon. That causes a traffic jam every time it's flooding, so we don't have proper gutting. And the third one, I don't even tell everybody's time, but the third one is that little park. If we can get a proper walking trail, so it's all broken up, that we have it right there in Carver Heights.
Which park is it?
Right here at Rosedale and Plaza.
Okay.
Where that blue building is, the walking trail is in very bad condition. We do get the grass mowed, but that's about it. And there is some work going on with that ditch. I'm not sure what I just see a bunch of rocks going over there, and I'm not sure what the intent of going for that. That would be nice to find out what the intent is for that. And then lighting. From Rosedale going north, in wee hours of the morning and late at night, our street lights are not lit, or the bulbs have gone out, and we need proper lighting. So those are my 4 things. And how do we communicate with the people in hand for our concerns or issues that we may want of this budget to be considered? I know that was a lot, but I got it written down.
Yeah, I'll try to answer quickly. So we're taking note of what you mentioned and the activities that you listed, the ones that would fit into these programs. Some of them are just part of the city's regular transportation, public works, or park and recreation department maintenance type items. So we'll be sure to forward that on to those departments. But some of the things we could potentially include in our budget, like some of the infrastructure and stuff at the parks. So yeah, we'll make note of that as we prepare our one-year action plan. There'll be another opportunity for public comment, but certainly we make note of what you mentioned.
And how do we follow up with the action plans if it's even being considered?
Yeah, so it'll be advertised, the list of activities that be in that first year, and you can comment in writing or at the public hearing. So it'll be I believe a 30-day notice put in the newspaper on our website, and we'll get it at the libraries, different public facilities. So you'll have an opportunity to read it and provide comment. And I will say before you all have an opportunity to participate, we have way more need than we do money. So just know that it's important that you prioritize what you feel are the most important things that can be done with these dollars, because that's how we're gonna have to, as they say, separate sheep.
But as you already mentioned, though, some of it could be taken care of by the city of Fort Worth.
Exactly.
We're talking about our community
So,
right now.
yeah, in that case, I would advise you to communicate through your elected official, in this case, Councilmember Bivens, to share that with whatever department that it impacts.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'm Sharon Armstrong, and I'm concerned with the two new districts. Will there be follow-up meetings to let the two new districts have an opportunity to voice their concerns? I know at the last meeting when I asked this question, he said that we would go through the district that we were in. But that's not a fair process if we are not going to be able to go through District 11 and follow-up meetings so that we'll know about the consolidated plan.
Yeah, first of all, we are committed to having at least one additional meeting after the election where, people who are in those new designated boundaries, which have not to have the same type of meeting, for those two districts. In addition to that, though, we've also, made sure that our material included that regardless of whether you're in a new district, we encourage people to attend either one of the 9 meetings that we held already. And also that you still, it will be through the same process of social media and website and so forth. We'll be announcing another meeting after. We wanted to give those, kind of first the opportunity to take the rest of the year. They were also good.
Your question, in my mind, that it brings, your answer brings another question. And these HUD funds are they going to be designated in consideration of the district? Okay, so whatever district we live in, the consideration of the issue of the fund allocation is a need, and it may be my street, your street, or across town,
Yeah,
but
so,
nothing to do with district.
no, so the way it works, it depends on the activity. So for example, if it's streets, parks, community center, it's gonna be based on the area being in. So for example, if we're gonna make improvements to a community center, there's 51% or more people in that area, that census tract, are they low moderate income? That's how we're able to use the money in particular areas. For housing, it's based on your individual household income. You can live anywhere in Fort Worth. It'd be based on what you make your total household income. So housing activities are based on your household, community facilities, infrastructure, those type of things based on the area. So
A person would simply need to know the funds are there for that person to apply for. If it was an individual needing help to replace the roof on their house. Okay, so an individual needs to know the funds are available, and if they're not connected, then someone simply has to be able to tell them.
yeah, that's part of the reason we have these meetings. You can apply year round for our rehab program. It's an online application, or if you're not able to do that on the computer, staff can assist you. And Sharon, do you have that number off? And John's number.
For priority care, it's 817-392-7548.
Can you repeat that so everybody can hear it?
817-392-7548.
So you need to rely on community leaders to share with those who otherwise don't stay in touch. And you see somebody, I see somebody, and say, hey, did you know?
Yeah, we have some brochures here that
Yeah.
also advertise all of this program. But yeah, so it's important that you voice what concerns you have for your particular neighborhood. Like she mentioned, drainage problems and things like that. So yeah, those are the things that this area is low mod, we can use these dollars to do it. If not, the city can use their regular capital improvement funds or bonds or things like that.
One of the other things to keep in mind is that you can always go to either the city's website or call housing enabled services. So even if you're interested in home repairs, down payment closing costs, you can also contact the department. If you don't know exactly what's available or when it will be available, you can always contact the department. That's why this first step of establishing what's the priority needs is important, because that establishes how the block grant will be divided, how much will be expended on housing versus infrastructure versus public. But year round, you'll always have the opportunity to apply for individual programs. And those are funded, some of them every year.
Is this in place now?
Yes, it's like the home buyer program is in place now. And although it's currently utilizing funds that are available through the end of September, there'll be this new allocation that will take place. Anyone else that has a question?
Well, for our neighborhood improvement program that we did for Stop Six, you have that map that you can pull up.
See, I will say what we know is very A20 raining as the boundaries, for our neighborhood improvement, I don't know specifically, half our long blocks.
But it doesn't, if you're talking about your housing improvement, it doesn't matter.
I mean, how many people use this? Do y'all have a year? Do you have
We,
people that actually know about it?
yeah, we assist about 400 some households per year. And you may have heard, Councilmember Bivens mentioned previously, we had a limit of $5,000, and now it's up to $25,000 for homeowner rehab. So we won't be assisting 400 or some people now because the amount per household has increased. But yes, we get a lot of applications,
How much is it per household?
up to 25,000.
Per household for home improvement?
Yes, ma'am. And we also have another program, it's our lead safe program, which, removes lead that you can't have. So that's separate from these topics. In addition to,
Is the income threshold the same with the increase in the available funds per household?
yes,
Income, limit is set each year.
Okay, so this is
Funding and the plan, for Dr. Robbins is also keep in mind that even though we're talking about this year's allocation being a little over $13 million, this comprehensive plan also covers competitive grants for these same kinds of activities, where the city, in addition to its formula allocation, based on the plan, is able to compete, it's offered for competitive funding. So the $35 million that the city received for Stop Six, they were one of 6 cities to receive that funding, which expanded the ability to address housing. So that's why this kind of process is very, very important, because it not only covers the annual formula allocation, but from time to time, the additional funding. So if there are no more questions at the moment, I'll come back at the end when we finish to see if there are any additional questions. I'm going to turn it over to Robin. We're going to have you participate in a little exercise to get your input on priority needs.
Thank you, James. I'm going to get more towards the podium here so you all can hear me. Let me know if my voice projects a little bit more. My name is Robin Williams, and I am going to do a little exercise with you all. We've been running this instant polling at all of the district meetings just to get a feel for the type of projects. These are example projects that we're going to be talking about that have been funded through this funding allocation. And so when we're asking you these questions, we'd like you to use the little gadgets that we've handed out and let us know, in your opinion, you can mark A, B, or C. I think it corresponds with 1, 2, or 3 on your keypad. So let us know whether you consider something to be a high priority, a medium priority, or a low priority. And one key point is that this exercise is not meant to replace the very important survey that James and Victor have talked about to let us know about those priority needs. But it still gives you an idea of thinking about, okay, what's important to me in my community and what do I feel is a benefit? So we're gonna give this a try. So again, think about what your community needs as we're doing this. And just to make sure that our gadgets are working, we're gonna do a test question here. And then you're gonna press the corresponding button that matches what your opinion is. So the first question we have is just a test question here. Do your best guess. How many people do you feel live in Fort Worth? So if you press the letter A, that'll correspond with 908,469. B is 508,469, and C is 500,469. So if you press your button now, it should calculate. You might want to point it towards the screen and press it really hard, and then Robert will know when we've got all the answers in, and that will just let us know that everything's working. Robert's going to give me a thumbs up.
Is it 1, 2, or 3 on that?
It should be 1, 2, or 3 corresponding with A, B, or C. Any questions on that? Looks like everything's in? Okay, let me see what we've got here. So 58% say A, and we've got 42% saying letter C, and the correct answer is A. So congratulations to those who guessed letter A. So with that, I think we're ready to get into some of the questions now. Next, okay, so for the first question here, we talked about a variety of different programs that this covers, and one that has been funded through these funds is called Campfire First Texas, and that provides an after-school program which focuses on social and emotional learning and includes STEAM, which is science, technology, engineering, arts, and math activities, reading and literacy programs for developing the community, and this is typically an after-school program. So tell us, what level priority would a program similar to this be considered in your community? Would you consider this a high priority program, a moderate priority program, or a low priority program? Answers are coming in. It's not? Okay, great. So it looks like 43% see this as a high priority, 43% see it as a moderate, and 14% see it as a lower priority. Thank you for that. Next question. All right, so you may recognize this part. So community development block grant funds were used to develop Bunch Park, which is a recreational park in the Harbor Heights neighborhood. Improvements included trees, trail connections, and pavilions. You can see the before and after picture there. This was in District 5, and so it's near Dunbar Middle School and Dunbar High School. And so tell us what level of priority would you consider these type of improvements, using funds for these type of improvements in your community? A high priority, moderate priority, or a low priority? Let's read buttons down. Got it? Okay. So it looks like 7% view this as a high priority need. Is that 57% view it as a moderate priority, and then 33 see it as a low priority. So thank you. Next question here. These funds were used to complete American Disabilities Act improvements at a few neighborhood centers, or actually community centers. So North Side, North Tri-Ethnic Community Center, and Worth Heights Community Center. The types of improvements were ramps, bathroom modifications, curb cuts, and grab bars at these facilities. So what priority level should ADA improvement projects be considered at these type of centers in your community? A, B, or C? High, moderate, or low priority? Okay, looks like, what is that, 40%? Okay, 40% high, 40% moderate, and 20% lower priority. So thank you for that. Next question we're moving on to is the The city, this is a citywide program, provides allocation to the AIDS Outreach Center to provide short-term rental assistance, mortgage and utilities assistance, and support services for people living with HIV. This is through the Housing Opportunities for Persons with AIDS funding source. And last year, they assisted 122 persons living with HIV. So tell us, what priority level should a similar program be considered in your community? A, high priority, B, moderate priority, or C, a low priority? Okay, let's see here. 13% see it as a high priority, 27% see it as a moderate, and we've got 60% see it as a low priority. Thanks, everyone. Great. Okay, so the city provides community development block grant funds to a variety of nonprofits, such as the Center for Transforming Lives, Easter Seals, North Texas, the Ladder Alliance, and the Women's Center of Tarrant County for workforce development. So that includes employment services, computer skills training, and rapid employment services. It also includes services for entrepreneurs and services to help disabled with computer skills training and things like that. And so tell us, again, this is regarding workforce development funds. So what would you feel like would be a priority for this level of expenditure? High priority, moderate priority, or low priority? Okay. Getting faster. So 47% see it as a high, 20% see it as a moderate, and 33% see it as a low priority. Thank you. Just a few more questions. Now we're dealing with food insecurity issues, and so again, these funds can be used to deal with issues such as this. And so currently the city allocates CDBG funds to the Tarrant Area Food Bank Red Bus program, and Red Bus stands for Resources Education Delivered, which provides emergency food distribution, nutrition education, and assistance for enrollment in federal benefits programs such as SNAP, TAMP, CHIP, and Medicaid. The Red Bus goes to the zip codes having the highest need, and last year, I think actually it was 2021, they delivered 83,666 pounds of food to 6,561 persons at various locations in Tarrant County. And so we'd like to know from you, what level of priority would you consider funding an activity such as this with food insecurity? High priority, moderate priority, or low priority? Okay. 64% see it as a high priority, 7% see it as a moderate priority, and 33% see it as a low priority. Next up, we've got sidewalk improvements on West Canty Street, located near the northern boundary of Fire Station number 10. That included replacement of curbs, gutters, various reconstructions, driveways, added ADA accessible sidewalks, ramps, and this was at all street intersections on the corridor. Again, this was at College Avenue off of Hemp Hill Street, located in District 9. And so what level of priority would you give to street and sidewalk improvements using these expenditures? A, high, B, moderate, C, low priority. Okay, awesome. All right, so 60% of you believe this is a high priority, 13% medium priority, and 27% see this as low priority. Okay, next question. Okay, you all recognize this one. This is the Stop 6 Neighborhood Improvement Strategy that was city funded. The project developed strategies that addressed housing, neighborhood development, economic well-being, education, safety, health, transportation, and improving the quality of life overall in struggling neighborhoods. So similar programs such as this can be funded with these CDBG funds. So in your opinion, how beneficial is a project such as this to Fort Worth residents? As mentioned, this was one where they were able to leverage additional funding at the tune of $35 million to We do quite a few different things, including educational programs for STEM and STEAM, different types of certifications, housing replacement, and so forth. All right. So 64% see this as a very beneficial program, 21% see it as somewhat beneficial, 14% see it as not beneficial. Thank you. Okay, and similarly, we have another program called Las Vegas Trail, and that's a neighborhood transformation plan. That was a city-initiated project, and that was again meant to improve the community's access to food, healthcare, youth and family services, programs to help with housing and homelessness, employment resources, and education and mentoring programs. So this was funded with about $3.5 million neighborhood improvement plan grant, and again had quite a few different programs to improve the neighborhoods overall. So, what is your opinion for a program such as this to Fort Worth residents? Very beneficial, somewhat beneficial, or not beneficial? Okay, things are in. 47% see this as very beneficial, 33% see it as somewhat beneficial, and 20% see it as not beneficial. Thank you. All right, getting to our last few questions here. Talked about this a little bit before we got on here, which is the Home Buyer Assistance Program, abbreviated HAP, and that provides down payment assistance to first-time home buyers that qualify. So again, so it's at $25,000 roughly in down payment assistance for those who qualify. So in your opinion, how beneficial is a program such as this to Fort Worth residents? Very beneficial, somewhat beneficial, or not beneficial? A, B, or C? Okay, all in. All right. 40% see this as very beneficial, 27% see it as somewhat beneficial, and 33% see it as not very beneficial. Thank you. Next question. All right, we're talking about other types of programs that the city is funded, again, citywide programs that exist today to help low-income homeowners repair and maintain their homes. One program is the Cowtown Brush Up Program, and that's for exterior repairs. We've got the Priority Repair Program for those are major system repairs on the home. Lead Safe Program that Victor mentioned earlier, removing lead-based paint hazards. Healthy Homes for seniors that repairs elderly home accessibility, and Preserve a Home, which is to help with general home repairs. So in your opinion, how beneficial are programs such as these to Fort Worth residents? If you all have any questions about these programs, we've got a table back there for neighborhood services. You can ask questions and get some answers. All right, everything's passed. So 79% see this as very beneficial, 7% see it as somewhat beneficial, and 14% see it as not beneficial. Thank you very much. That's our last questions. Again, we ask that you take the online survey. Please tell your friends and associates to do that. You can also ask your friends if they'd like to view the streaming session because it's being live streamed. We'll save that online on the website and they can access that for more information.
Thanks, Robin. Just an emphasis on the survey. So the questions you answered tonight is only a small segment of examples of total uses that the funds can be expended on. So I would encourage you to, if you would go and take the full survey and also help direct people to the survey as well. Again, you can use your phone to access the QR code and go to the survey. And you can also go to the city's website and be able to access the survey as well. So the survey will actually be available through May 31st, and we'll close it out at that point so that the draft plan can be completed. And then you'll have an opportunity verbally or in writing to tell the city council if you have any other thoughts on what the priority needs are. So I'm going to stop here first to see if we have any additional questions from the audience. And then we're going to go to our social media respondents, if we have any, and see if we have any questions to this. So anyone here in the audience have any additional questions? Yes, sir.
I don't have a question, I just want to thank you for doing that. Thanks.
Oh, okay. Well, great. I'm glad it was beneficial. This really does help the city, though, in terms of being able to, because we try to program funding that we have outreach and people actually responding by applications. But a lot of times we don't have an opportunity to really get your direct input. So this is very helpful to us. Do we have any questions from our listeners?
Yeah, we don't listen to it.
Okay. All right. Victor, anything else? Well, thank you very much for participating. We'll be around. If you have any additional questions, feel free to ask any of the staff, and we'll try to answer them. So thank you again.